with. And so that would be one huge thing to do. Now, I have other tips to share here for sure, but my top tip, if we want to just get right to it.
Let's hear the top tip.
The top tip is find this, go on the internet, do your research, go check with friends for referrals, identify the most expensive lawyer in town, the most high profile lawyer in town. Call that person's secretary and say, hey, I see you're out here. And admit if you can't afford that firm. I can't afford you guys. I'm looking for a divorce lawyer. I'm looking for a personal injury lawyer. I'm looking for a criminal defense attorney in your community. Could you help me with a referral? These firms, like my own, if we get 100 calls, we're going to probably take 1 or 2 of those clients. We are super selective on who we take, and that means we're referring everybody else, and that means we already have the referral list. We already know who's good in these areas and can match people up. We don't get paid for it. We just hey, we're not gonna be able to help you, but here are a list of people who can. That's coming from somebody who knows who's good or bad in your community. So that is my top tip. Go to the most expensive lawyer. Tell them hey, I don't want to waste your time, but could you give me a referral? Now you're getting a referral from a lawyer to another lawyer. That is powerful.
So if you're in small town USA, not Los Angeles, do you kind of just generally say, hey, that guy has the nicest building and he's probably the most expensive? How do you know how much an attorney charges?
So, and it is hard. When the smaller the community, the less chance there's going to be of specialization. Mm-hmm. And because you're generally going to have people who are going to have multiple practice areas in a smaller community, and that's fine. Now, certainly, if the person is successful, they should be busy. And so we do judge some of this. I hate to say that, but it's lawyers make good money, and if they're successful, they're going to have a nice office, and they're going to have a nice website, and they're going to have staff and answering a phone and being responsive. So these are some ideas, because you're going to spend, all lawyers are expensive. Doesn't matter who you hire. They're all going to charge a lot of money. A stupid amount of money per hour.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, because, as a client, you might say, why the heck is this guy charging me so much money? All lawyers are crooks, and they just charge too much. So obviously, I believe everybody should get paid and everything. And some people may think that my fees are too high. And are we paying for expertise, or why does it need to cost that much?
I hate it. I hate it. How expensive it is. And for me, I'll use myself as an example. I'm $850 an hour, and that's on the low side. I could be $1,000. I could literally charge $1,000 an hour for what I'm doing in my area. I cannot afford myself. If God forbid my wife left me, I could not afford my own law firm that I'm a co-owner of to represent me.
Wow.
It is that expensive. And how is it that expensive? Well, overhead. We have 8 lawyers. We got to, could you imagine the payroll that is required to, most people can't afford a lawyer for an hour. A law firm has to pay the salaries of lawyers for a year, and the office, and the malpractice insurance. The admin overhead is on top of that, non-billable time. It is an enormous amount of money to run a law firm, and that's why the hourly rates are high. Now, what we're seeing, though, is firms like mine who have the infrastructure, and we have systems in place, we have the best technology, we invest constantly into our business, we pay our people well, we have lots of staff, and that's why our overhead is so high. But then we see other lawyers who are basically solos, who don't have any infrastructure, don't have any systems in place, don't even have an office, don't even have staff, but they're charging similar rates. Mm-hmm. And so that I do question, because they're able to get it, paid for it, but without the overhead that we have, that supports the client, that gives the client value, that brings muscle to the job, you're paying really all pure profit with the non-staff.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes a whole lot of sense. So you and I are talking, and like, I would like to work with you. You kind of have a style that seems like works with me, and you just almost answered a pretty tough question. Why do you charge so much? In a way that makes a lot of sense, and I really appreciate that. Like when people, because I've always heard that fully 80% of anybody's earning ability is based on their communication. In other words, how many people pass the bar? A lot. How many are very successful lawyers? And really, most of it, being a lawyer is being able to communicate, negotiations and everything else. So how do you find, like, how do you know what you as a client, how your attorney should communicate, and how do you find that person?
This is hugely important, David, and I was surprised after doing this so long, and I employ lawyers, and here at my office, I've hired lawyers to represent me. I've co-counseled with them. I mean, this is my thing. And I was surprised that how many lawyers can't speak. Because I figured, like, well, you're a lawyer, you must be you're a spokesperson. This is what your job is, at least if you're a litigator. You're there to represent the client in court. You're basically selling that client's position to a judge or to the other side in a negotiation. But we see all these lawyers who can't talk. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And we have legalese that lawyers learned all these terms in law school, and then they throw them around. And I think it's just a way of making them feel better about themselves or making them seem like they're smart. But to me, if nobody can understand you, you aren't smart and you are not communicating well. So communication style and effectiveness is super important, I think, more than the subject matter, because law stuff is not rocket science. Honestly, it is really not that complicated. I mean, there's facets of it, obviously. But when it comes down to it, most laws are rules of reason. So the answer to most legal question is what's reasonable? Well, that's probably, hopefully, what the law is. So you want a lawyer who can communicate. And when you're interviewing the lawyer, you want to be listening to what they're saying. And are they, ask them questions. Are they answering you? Because if they're not answering you directly when they're trying to get your business, well, they're certainly not going to listen to you later on. And the questions that they're answering, do you understand what they're saying? I mean, we need a lawyer who can understand. And if you can't understand them, probably nobody else can either. So I would keep looking and find somebody that actually is going to listen to you, because there's a lot of lawyers out there who are, kind of more paternalistic. I know everything. I've seen it before. I'm going to come in there with my tools and fix it, and I will tell you what needs to be done. That is absolutely the wrong approach for a lawyer. We are servants. And I think that that's what gets misunderstood by people because of our title, because of how much money we're paid, that they think that the lawyer is in charge. The lawyer is the one who's going to find all the solutions and tell us all this great wisdom. No, the client is in charge. The client is the most important person. We listen to the client. We serve the client. And you want a lawyer with an attitude of service, not somebody who's going to sit here and tell you what to do. And especially in divorce, what I'm seeing is that we have people who are trying to get out of one bad relationship with their spouse and winding up with now an equally dysfunctional and toxic relationship with their lawyer. So you don't pick somebody who's just going to tell you how it is. Pick somebody who's going to listen to you and represent you.
So that's really interesting, because what I was thinking is I would really like an attorney that would just say, look, this is what needs to happen based on my expertise. And maybe it would definitely need to be more of a partnership based on what you're saying. And it's also interesting because I know that what you're dealing with is emotionally charged relationships. And I'm sure most divorce cases are not all that complicated if you take the emotion out. But when you put the emotion in, I'm going to take him for everything he's worth and vice versa. I mean, do you find yourself having to say, yes, we can try to take him for everything he's worth, but that's not going to work. So maybe we back down and make it easier. I mean, can you make that suggestion to your client?
So it is highly charged and emotional, and the client will be coming in oftentimes feeling that, hey, this is unfair what's being proposed or what's happening to the client.